Did you know that the coffee you drank today is causing shocking changes in your circulatory system right now? I'm not just talking about that spike in blood pressure that happens in the first few minutes. I'm talking about deep transformations in your heart muscle and your arteries that only solidify months later. Today, I'm going to show you what happens in the silence of your body when this supposed villain becomes your greatest ally for longevity. And stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal a secret about the way you prepare your coffee that could be the difference between protecting your heart or overloading your nervous system unnecessarily. It's something almost no one talks about in doctors' offices. I'm Dr. Thomas Ellsworth, and I closely monitor the cardiovascular health of hundreds of people who, like you, seek to age with vigor and clarity. If you value evidence-based information to take care of your most precious asset, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Let's understand what happens as soon as you finish that last sip. In about 30 minutes, caffeine is already circulating abundantly in your blood. It activates your sympathetic nervous system. Imagine it's like a readiness switch being flipped inside you. This causes your arteries to undergo a slight vasoconstriction. They tighten up a bit. At that moment, if you put a blood pressure cuff on your arm, the number will go up. Generally, we see an increase of 5 to 10 points in systolic pressure. This is why many people panic. They think coffee is causing hypertension. But in reality, this is just an acute temporary effect. It's a natural reaction of the body to the stimulus. The big mistake happens when someone measures their pressure right after coffee and receives a false diagnosis of high blood pressure. This creates unnecessary anxiety. An anxiety that is a silent enemy of your heart. Serious studies, such as those published by the American College of Cardiology, show that this initial spike does not reflect your long-term arterial health. The great revelation that science recently brought came through cardiovascular MRI scans. Researchers compared the hearts of regular coffee drinkers with those of non-drinkers. The result was surprising. The heart walls of coffee lovers were structurally healthier. The blood pumping function was superior. This means that although pressure rises slightly in the first 60 minutes, the cumulative effect over months and years is protective. It's as if coffee were doing resistance training with your arteries. But beware, this only works if you don't make a classic mistake that turns this superfood into a time bomb. Have you ever felt your heart beat harder, as if it were punching your chest right after coffee? Many people call this an arrhythmia and get scared. However, in most cases, coffee doesn't create a new arrhythmia. It just increases the force of the contraction. Your heart isn't beating wrong, it's just beating with more intent. But how do you know if you are one of those people who processes coffee slowly and ends up harming your body without knowing it? This is what we call a slow metabolizer. If you drink coffee at 10 in the morning and still feel its impact late in the afternoon, we need to have a serious talk about your biological window. In fact, I'd like to hear from you. Do you feel that coffee gives you energy, or does it make you slightly anxious with shaky hands? Answer here in the comments so I can understand how your body reacts. Before we move on to the golden rules of preparation, you need to understand that black coffee is rich in polyphenols. Think of them as a cleaning crew circulating through your arteries, removing debris and protecting the walls against inflammation. But this cleaning crew is fired the moment you add certain ingredients to the cup. Now that you understand the initial pressure spike is just a sign that your body is responding to the stimulus, we need to talk about where the real danger lies. Coffee on its own is an extraordinary ally, but we have a habit of sabotaging this natural medicine In the United States, it's very common to see people adding creams, syrups, and especially a lot of sugar to their mugs. The moment you do that, you create a reactive mixture. Sugar causes an insulin spike that inflames the very arteries that coffee's polyphenols are trying to protect. It's like trying to clean your house floor while someone throws mud through the windows. If you can't drink coffee black, you aren't tasting the coffee. You are addicted to the sugar stimulus. Another point that almost no one tells you is the difference in the coffee you buy at the grocery store. There is a vital distinction between a bean that is just toasted and one labeled as dark roast, especially very dark roast. In many places, low-quality coffee is over-roasted, almost burned, to hide impurities and spoil beans. This process generates substances that can be irritating to your stomach and less effective for your heart. I always recommend to my patients that they look for a medium roast. That's where the essential oils and polyphenols are preserved in the right amount. It's the therapeutic dose that cardiology societies, such as the American Heart Association, observe in their long-term studies. But you might be wondering, Thomas, how do I know if coffee is hurting me right now? We need to identify if you are a slow metabolizer. Imagine your liver has a crew tasked with removing caffeine from your blood. In some people, this crew works double time and clears everything in 3 hours. In others, due to genetics, this crew is slow. Caffeine stays circulating for 8, 10, even 12 hours. If you feel hand tremors, unprovoked irritability, or a slight twinge of anxiety hours after consumption, you probably process caffeine slowly. For you, coffee is not an afternoon drink, it is strictly an early morning drink. Ignoring this keeps your heart under unnecessary stress all day long. And here's an important question for you to interact with me. Are you the type who can drink a coffee and go right to sleep? Or if you have a cup after lunch, do you already lose sleep at night? Right, I'm fast or I'm slow down below. This helps us understand how our community here processes this energy. Science shows us that the ideal consumption to reap protective benefits without overloading the system is 2 to 4 cups a day. This equals roughly 4 tablespoons of coffee grounds throughout the day. Going beyond that can start to reverse the benefit curve. The secret to cardiovascular health is not intensity, it is consistency and moderation. But there is a mystery that haunts many people. Why do some sleep the recommended 8 hours but wake up feeling like they were hit by a truck? They don't understand that coffee might be switching off their brain but preventing the heart from truly resting. In the end, I'm going to show you exactly how this sleep trap works and what the biological deadline is, so your last cup doesn't turn into a lost night of repair. Before that, let's understand how to prepare the perfect dose so your arteries stay flexible and young regardless of your age. And now we reach the point that can completely change your relationship with coffee and consequently your heart health. I promise to explain why many people sleep 8 hours and wake up exhausted. Science proves that caffeine is a master of disguise. In your brain, there is a substance called adenosine. Imagine adenosine is like a fuel gauge that builds up throughout the day to tell your body it needs to rest. Caffeine doesn't give you real energy. It simply fits into the adenosine receptors, blocking the fatigue signal. It's as if you taped over your car's fuel gauge so you wouldn't see it's on empty. The problem is that even if you manage to black out and sleep after a late coffee, the quality of your deep sleep is sabotaged. Your heart doesn't reach the resting heart rate necessary for deep arterial repair. You wake up tired because your engine ran at a low idle all night instead of turning off. Therefore, the golden rule I apply in my life and recommend to my patients is to respect the biological window. In the United States, the pace of life is frantic, but your heart follows an ancestral rhythm. The maximum limit for the last cup is 4 in the afternoon. If you found out you are a slow metabolizer, this limit drops drastically to noon. Respecting this time gives your circulatory system the chance to rebuild while you sleep, but don't worry. All of this can be adjusted with small changes to your daily ritual. And here enters the important part about the therapeutic dose. For coffee to be a shield and not an overload, preparation is key. If you use the drip method, the ideal is to use 1 to 2 tablespoons of grounds for every 8 ounces of water. If you are an espresso fan, that small 1-ounce shot should contain the equivalent of 1 tablespoon of grounds. This concentration ensures that polyphenols are present in sufficient quantities to clean your arteries without causing excessive stress on the sympathetic nervous system. Always remember, medium coffee, that light or medium roast, is your best friend. Stay away from beans that look like charcoal, excessively shiny and dark. They carry toxins from the burning process that negate cardiovascular protection. The secret is in the purity. When you learn to appreciate the complex notes of a good coffee without the weight of sugar, you are offering your heart one of the most potent antioxidants nature has ever created. This is documented in decades of studies from the world's leading cardiology associations. I've seen this happen in practice with patients who reduced arterial stiffness just by adjusting these small details. Health is not made of miracles, but of consistency. Coffee won't save your heart if the rest of your routine is chaos, but it can be the fuel that was missing for a more resilient and youthful circulatory system. Looking back, we often realize that the most effective solutions were always there, right in front of us in a well-prepared morning cup. I hope this information brings more clarity and peace to your morning coffee tomorrow. I want to ask you one final question. After everything we've talked about, are you going to try changing the time of your last coffee or start testing sugar-free coffee starting tomorrow? Comment below with the word heart if you are going to prioritize your cardiovascular health from now on. This helps YouTube understand that this content is vital for more people. If you felt this video brought you unique knowledge, don't forget to leave a like. Share it with that friend or family member who can't live without a cup of coffee, but is always worried about their blood pressure. And of course, if you aren't part of our community yet, subscribe and turn on notifications. Taking care of yourself is a daily journey, and I'm here to walk beside you. Then no, at the ram, get time sa